My daughter sold my house while I was saying goodbye to my husband in the hospital. But what she didn't know was that his final letter would give me the power to make her regret everything. At 58, Emma had already buried her dreams once, with her husband. But when betrayal came from her own daughter, she discovered just how fierce a mother's love can be. Before we dive into this emotional journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us till the very end, because some stories don't just break hearts, they rebuild them. Emma sat beside Mark's hospital bed, her fingers gently wrapped around his frail, liver-spotted hand. The rhythmic beeping of machines was the only sound that filled the sterile ICU room. She hadn't left his side in 3 days. Not for food, not for sleep, not even for a shower. Mark had always been the strong one, her anchor, her calm during every storm. Seeing him like this, tubes in his nose, his body shrinking into the hospital sheets, was a cruelty she never imagined she'd have to witness. "Em," he whispered, his voice a rasp of what it once was. "I'm here," she replied, leaning in, brushing his white hair from his forehead. "Promise me you'll read the letter. The one in the floorboards?" She pulled back slightly. "What letter?" His hand trembled as he squeezed hers. "You'll know. Bedroom, right side." His eyes started to glaze. No, Mark. Stay with me." Her voice cracked, panic rising in her chest. "Don't go, please." A long, sharp beep broke through her words. A nurse rushed in, followed by a doctor. Emma stepped back, mouth agape, unable to breathe. "Time of death, 7:42 p.m. The words were clinical, final. Emma sank to her knees. The funeral was held 3 days later. A small, quiet affair. Mark had never been one for spectacle. Rachel stood beside her mother, dry-eyed, offering obligatory hugs to family friends. Emma noticed her daughter's distance, but chalked it up to grief. They all processed differently, didn't they? After the last handful of dirt hit the coffin, Emma whispered goodbye. Not just to her husband, but to a life, a partnership, a home built on shared dreams. "Let's get you home, Mom," Rachel said. Emma nodded, exhausted beyond words, but when they arrived, something was wrong. The car pulled into the driveway, only it wasn't her car in the garage, and her key didn't work in the lock. Rachel looked away. "Rachel, what's going on?" Rachel sighed. "There's something you need to know." After the funeral, Emma returns home to find the locks changed. Emma stared at the door handle. The key, the one she'd carried on her chain for 30 years, refused to turn. She tried again. Nothing. Her hand trembled. She looked at Rachel, who was busy scrolling through her phone. "Rachel, why won't my key work?" Her daughter exhaled as if bored. "The locks were changed. There were issues." "What issues? What are you talking about?" Rachel finally looked up, her face emotionless. "I sold the house, Mom." Emma blinked. "You, what?" "I sold the house, a week ago. Paperwork's done." The words hit like a car crash. "But you can't. That house, it's mine. It's Mark's and mine." Rachel stepped aside, revealing a sleek black SUV parked in the driveway. "We needed the money. I needed something for my future." Emma backed away, heart pounding. "This is a mistake. You didn't have the right." "I had power of attorney while you were in the hospital with Dad. You weren't in your right mind. Everything was falling apart. I handled it." Emma staggered backward. "To buy that?" Rachel shrugged. "Among other things. Look, it's done, and I found a really good place for you. Clean, secure, staffed. You'll have your own room." Emma's breath caught in her throat. "What place?" Rachel pulled up an email on her phone. "Green Hill Senior Living. They've got availability. You'll be safe, taken care of, and I can get on with my life without worrying." Emma wanted to scream, wanted to reach out and shake her daughter and make her see. but her legs wouldn't move. Her voice felt buried. "You're putting me in a home?" "You're not getting younger, Mom, and you don't really need a big house anymore. Let's not be dramatic." Emma turned away, blinking back tears. The garage door was open. Her garden tools, her husband's old toolbox, all gone. Even the wind chimes from the porch were missing. Her home had been gutted, sold off, erased. Rachel tapped her manicured nails on the SUV door. "We should go. I booked your check-in for tomorrow morning." Emma swallowed, trying to steady herself. "You may have sold the house, Rachel, but you haven't buried me yet." Rachel rolled her eyes. "Don't be stubborn. This is happening." Emma stepped back onto the sidewalk, trembling but determined. "We'll see about that." Rachel reveals plans to transfer Emma to an old-age home the next morning. The next morning, the SUV pulled up to the curb outside Green Hill Senior Living. The sun was still rising, casting an orange hue over the manicured lawns and flower beds. Emma sat stiffly in the passenger seat, her lips tight, her hands folded in her lap like a schoolgirl waiting for punishment. Rachel hummed softly as she parked. "It's a nice place. They have yoga for seniors, game nights, bingo." Emma didn't respond. Her eyes were locked on the glass doors ahead, behind which her freedom would end. Inside, a cheerful woman named Jan greeted them. "Welcome, Emma. We've got a room all set up for you. Private bath, cable TV, garden view." "I didn't agree to this," Emma interrupted quietly. Jan blinked. "Oh, I'm sorry. I was told by her," Emma said, nodding toward Rachel. Rachel stiffened. "Mom, don't make a scene." Emma turned to her. "You made the scene, Rachel. You sold my home. You packed my things. You forged signatures. Now you expect me to sit in a rocking chair while you drive around in your shiny new SUV?" A silence fell. Jan quickly excused herself. Rachel's voice dropped. "You're being paranoid." "I'm being awake." Emma stood, her spine straighter than it had been in weeks. "And I'm not staying here." "You don't have a choice?" Emma looked her daughter in the eye. "Watch me." She walked out the doors. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew she wasn't staying. Not in this place. Not under these terms. Back on the street, Emma caught a bus heading toward her old neighborhood. When she got off, she walked. Past the bakery. Past the park where Mark used to read the Sunday paper. To her house, or what used to be. She stood outside, staring. It was still hers in memory, if not in law. Then she remembered. Mark's last words, the letter, bedroom, right side, floorboards. Her hands shook as she approached a neighbor's house, one who had always liked Mark. "Mrs. Jennings?" The old woman opened the door. "Emma, what are you doing out here?" "I need your help," Emma said. "I need to get back inside, just once." Emma finds a photo of Mark in her bag with a cryptic note on the back. "Look under the floorboards. Bedroom, right side. Even in death, he protected me, with ink and secrets." Emma stood in the shadow of her old house, her heart pounding like a drum. Mrs. Jennings had agreed without hesitation. An open back window and a 5-minute window of opportunity before the realtor returned with more potential buyers. Inside, everything looked the same, yet unfamiliar. The walls held their color, but none of the warmth. Rachel had stripped the soul out of the home. She crept toward the master bedroom, each step across the floorboards echoing memories. Mark's side of the bed still seemed to hum with his presence. She knelt by the right side, fingers brushing the wood. One loose plank, just as he said. With a flathead screwdriver she borrowed from Mrs. Jennings' garage, she pried it up. Inside, a sealed manila envelope. Thick, heavy, her name written in Mark's hand. She sat on the floor and opened it. The letter came first. "My dearest Em, if you're reading this, I'm already gone. I never wanted you to face this alone, and I feared Rachel might lose her way. Inside this envelope is a legal deed, transferring sole ownership of our home to you. I signed it months ago, after my diagnosis. I didn't trust that Rachel would do the right thing when things got hard. She's always struggled with selfishness. I hoped I was wrong. I hoped this letter would never be needed. But just in case, fight for what's yours. Fight for what we built. Love always, Mark. Emma's hands trembled as she pulled out the deed, embossed with notary stamps and sealed signatures. Mark had made everything legal. He'd known. A sound outside startled her, a car door. She folded the documents quickly, tucking them into her coat. Slipping the floorboard back into place, she ducked out the back, just as a woman's voice echoed through the front door. Safely behind Mrs. Jennings' hedges, Emma caught her breath. She clutched the envelope to her chest. She wasn't done, not by a long shot. The deed is legal, and Rachel's sale wasn't authorized. Emma sat in the law office of Harrison Green, gripping the envelope as though it were her only oxygen. Across from her, a middle-aged attorney with kind eyes and a skeptical brow read Mark's letter and the deed. When he finally looked up, his expression had shifted from doubt to gravity. "This deed is real," he said. "It's notarized, filed, and legal. And if it's dated before Rachel's sale, then the transfer she executed wasn't authorized. She committed fraud." Emma let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. "What happens now?" He leaned back. "We file an injunction immediately to freeze the sale and begin proceedings to reverse it. The court won't take this lightly." Emma nodded, jaw clenched. "Good. I want everything she did exposed." Later that afternoon, she stood outside the Greenhill facility, holding her release papers. She wasn't going back inside. Not now, not ever. Rachel had been notified by the lawyer, but hadn't responded until that evening. Emma returned to Mrs. Jennings's house to find Rachel already there, pacing in the yard, arms crossed, face red. "You went through my things?" Rachel snapped. "You broke into the house?" "It was my house, Rachel." "Was, past tense. You can't undo this." Emma stepped closer. "Mark saw this coming. He protected me. You forged documents, lied, sold your father's memories for a down payment on your ego." Rachel's jaw tightened. "You think I wanted that house? I hated that house. I hated how you and Dad made it a shrine to your perfect little life. I was just a guest in my own home." Emma's face hardened. "So your answer was to strip me of everything?" Rachel threw up her hands. "You never saw me, Mom. You never listened. Dad never believed in me. I finally did something for myself." "You stole." A tense silence. "I'm filing charges," Emma said. "And I'm taking my house back." Rachel laughed bitterly. "You'll be dead before the paperwork clears." Emma stepped forward. "Then I'll haunt you." Emma discovers Rachel also emptied Mark's bank accounts. Emma sat across from Mr. Raines, the private investigator her lawyer recommended. His office smelled like burnt coffee and tired secrets. A manila file sat between them. "That SUV your daughter bought, it was registered to her name for 48 hours, he said, flipping open a photo. "Then sold, for cash, to a luxury reseller in Los Angeles." Emma stared at the image. Rachel in sunglasses, laughing with a man who looked like he belonged in a nightclub, not a dealership. "She flipped the car?" "She flipped everything," Raines said. "From what I can tell, she's been liquidating anything with your name on it for the past 2 months." Emma's stomach twisted. "And the bank accounts?" "Your husband's pensions, insurance, even the joint checking, gone. Transferred to a shadow account offshore, Cayman Islands." Emma gripped the chair arms. She was planning to run. She still might. Later that night, Emma wandered the old park near her house. The same bench where Mark used to sit and read the news. She closed her eyes and imagined his voice. "She's still our daughter," she whispered to the wind. "But I don't recognize her anymore." At Mrs. Jennings' house, Emma sat quietly, making a list. Not of things to recover, but of principles not to lose: dignity, memory, truth. Her lawyer called. The court granted an emergency freeze on all assets linked to the deed. It was a small win. But the next morning, a knock came. Rachel. "Mom, we need to talk." Her voice was shaky, desperate. Emma didn't invite her in. "I messed up," Rachel began, eyes wide. "But you can't just destroy me." "I'm not destroying you. I'm stopping you. You don't understand what it's like, living in your shadow, watching you and Dad play house while I drowned in your silence." Emma crossed her arms. "You sold your father's home, stole his money, tried to erase me. This isn't about shadows. It's about greed." Rachel stepped back, her face hardening. "You're mentally unstable. I can file for guardianship. Say you're not fit to handle your affairs." Emma's jaw tightened. "Try me." Rachel threatens to sue Emma for mental harassment. The courthouse smelled of disinfectant and old paper. Emma sat in the front row beside her attorney, heart pounding, palms clammy. Rachel sat across the aisle with a lawyer in a sleek suit, all practiced charm and sharpened smiles. The courtroom was quiet until Rachel spoke. "She's not well," she said to the judge. "My mother hasn't been stable since my father died. She's hallucinating conversations. She broke into a house that doesn't belong to her." Emma's jaw clenched. She turned to the judge. "I have proof. Legal proof. My husband transferred the house to my name months before he passed. Rachel had no right to sell it." Rachel's attorney scoffed. "The plaintiff is grieving and confused. Power of attorney." Emma's lawyer stood. "The deed predates the POA abuse. We've submitted notarized documents, Mark Thatcher's signed letter, and banking evidence of fraudulent withdrawals." The judge leafed through the folder. When he finally looked up, his voice was calm but cool. "Ms. Thatcher," he said, looking at Rachel, "the evidence shows a consistent pattern of financial exploitation. That, paired with offshore transfers, speaks volumes." Rachel fidgeted in her chair. Emma felt no joy in seeing her daughter squirm. Only deep, exhausted sorrow. The judge turned to her. "Mrs. Thatcher, an emergency stay has been granted. The house sale is frozen. You are reinstated as the rightful owner pending further investigation." Rachel gasped. "You can't do that." "I just did," the judge said firmly. Outside the courtroom, reporters had begun to gather. The story was spreading. A local journalist, having overheard the proceedings, approached Emma. "Mrs. Thatcher, would you be willing to talk about what happened? Your story could help others." Emma looked at Rachel, whose face was pale, lips tight. She nodded slowly. "Yes, it's time people heard the truth." That night, the news clip aired. Widow wins fight against daughter in home ownership scandal. Emails poured in, strangers offering help, support, legal advice, even money. Rachel didn't contact her. Until 1 week later. Emma received a manila envelope in the mail. Inside, court papers. Rachel was countersuing. Emma receives notice that Rachel is suing her for emotional damages. The countersuit felt like a punch to the chest. "Emotional damages," Rachel claimed. "Public humiliation." Emma read the filing under the yellow glow of Mrs. Jennings' kitchen lamp. The words bled like betrayal. Her lawyer advised a public response, not in anger, but with dignity. The same journalist from before contacted her again. This time, Emma said yes to a sit-down interview. She didn't cry, she didn't accuse. She told the truth about Mark, about Rachel, about how love doesn't prevent harm, and how sometimes it makes the wounds deeper. The story went viral. Donations began to pour in, small ones. A woman from Wisconsin sent a $20 check with a note. "For your fight, for all our fights." The courthouse became a symbol. Locals dropped off flowers, letters. People shared their own stories of being scammed by family. But the fame brought shadows too. Tabloid blogs twisted the narrative. Rachel's face began to appear online with headlines like "Greedy Daughter" or "Scapegoat." Then one morning, Emma's lawyer called with news that made her drop her tea. "An anonymous donor is covering your legal fees in full," he said. "They were moved by your story. No strings attached." Emma sat in silence. Gratitude rippled through her, yes, but also resolve. Later that week, she passed Rachel at the courthouse hallway. Their eyes locked for the first time in weeks. Rachel looked thinner, tired, rage drained. "I didn't want this," Emma whispered. Rachel didn't speak, but her eyes welled. That night, Emma found herself sitting with Mark's photo. "I don't know if she's redeemable," she said aloud. "But I remember the girl who used to fall asleep on your chest while we watched the stars." A letter arrives at Emma's door. It's from Rachel, handwritten. The letter contains an apology and an ultrasound photo. Rachel is pregnant. The envelope sat on Emma's lap for hours before she opened it. Inside, a letter, shakily written. "I'm sorry," it began. "I didn't know how to ask for help, so I took what I wanted. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know I'm having a baby." Tucked inside the folds of the letter was a grainy ultrasound photo. Rachel was in Arizona, the return address revealed. Emma's lawyer advised caution, but Emma booked the flight the same day. The heat hit her as she stepped out of the airport. Dry, piercing. She rented a car and drove 2 hours to a town that looked like it had been forgotten by time. Rachel lived in a modest duplex. Emma knocked. The door opened slowly. Her daughter stood there, round-bellied, face tired. "Hi, Mom," she whispered. Emma's eyes filled. "You look different." Rachel shrugged. "I feel different." They sat in the kitchen, a cheap table, mismatched chairs. No more luxury cars, no designer bags. Rachel poured 2 glasses of water. Emma noticed the tremble in her hands. "I came because of the baby," Emma said. "Not the lawsuit, not the house. The baby." Rachel nodded. "I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know." There was a silence thick with all the things they hadn't said for years. "I was angry at you for so long," Rachel said. "For choosing Dad, for being perfect, for never needing me." Emma's eyes narrowed. "I always needed you, but you wanted me to need you on your terms, not mine. I didn't know how to be a daughter. I was too busy trying not to be you." They both laughed, bitter and sad. "I don't know if we can fix this," Rachel said. Emma reached for her hand. "Maybe we don't fix it. Maybe we just start fresh." Before Rachel could answer, she doubled over, gasping. Emma rushed to her side. I think it's happening," Rachel panted. Sirens, paramedics, screams. Emma sat in the back of the ambulance, gripping her daughter's hand. "Just breathe," she whispered. "I've got you." Rachel goes into early labor. Ambulance sirens cut the conversation short. The delivery was fast, too fast. The doctor said Rachel's body was under stress, emotionally and physically. Her baby came 7 weeks early. Emma sat outside the delivery room, wringing her hands raw. The walls were too white, the air too cold. Her breath fogged against the waiting room glass. And then, a cry. High-pitched, fragile, fierce. A nurse opened the door. "Would you like to meet your grandson?" Emma stepped inside. Rachel was pale, eyes closed. An oxygen mask over her face, but the baby, tiny, wrapped in a blue blanket, was in a bassinet nearby, his fists clenched as if ready to fight the world. Emma approached slowly. Her heart stuttered. He had Mark's nose. She reached out, touched the infant's hand. It closed around her finger. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Hi, baby," she whispered. "You don't know it yet, but you're going to save all of us." Hours passed. Rachel awoke. Her voice was hoarse. "Is he okay?" Emma nodded. "He's perfect." Rachel blinked back tears. I didn't think I could feel this way. Emma sat beside her. It's not too late to be better. Rachel turned her head toward the window. I was so sure you'd never forgive me. Emma didn't answer. Forgiveness wasn't simple. It wasn't instant. It was a process. And sometimes it was silent. I named him Mark, Rachel said suddenly. If that's okay. Emma's breath caught. It's more than okay. They sat in quiet harmony until a knock at the door interrupted them. A man in a gray suit stepped in. Rachel Thatcher? She nodded warily. I'm from Child Protective Services. We received an anonymous report regarding fraud and instability. We need to speak to you about custody. Emma stepped forward instinctively. You're not taking him. We're not taking anyone, the agent replied. Not yet. But we do need to evaluate the environment he'll be raised in. Rachel looked stricken. I didn't think it would go this far. Emma placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. Let me help you, for his sake. Social services show up. Someone reported Rachel for fraud. Emma stood beside Rachel during the CPS interview, arms crossed, heart pounding. Rachel answered every question honestly, about the house, the money, the deception. The caseworker remained neutral but firm. You'll need supervised check-ins, parenting classes, financial transparency. If not, custody will be evaluated. Rachel nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll do it. Emma stayed in Arizona longer than she planned. She moved into a modest rental nearby, visited the NICU daily, helped Rachel prepare bottles and paperwork. Mark Jr. grew stronger by the hour. But bills loomed. Emma returned to her lawyer's office and was hit with another blow. The deed protected your home, he said. But Kyle, the man Rachel transferred funds to, used your house as collateral for private debts, high-risk ones. Emma felt her blood freeze. How is that possible? The forged POA. He leveraged it with unscrupulous lenders. If we don't act, you could still lose everything. She leaned back, stunned. So I won the battle, and still might lose the war? The lawyer nodded solemnly. Unless we find him, prove criminal intent. That night, Emma stood in front of the baby's crib. Mark Jr. wrapped his tiny fingers around hers. I'll protect you, she whispered, just like he protected me. The next morning, she received a letter from the bank, 30 days before the property would be legally repossessed. Rachel read it and broke down. I didn't know, she sobbed. I was stupid. I trusted Kyle. He told me everything would be fine. Emma didn't yell. She simply said, help me fix it. Emma is told she may lose the house within 30 days. Kyle has used the house deed to secure his own criminal debts. Emma is liable. Emma began to purge, not memories, but valuables. Mark's watch, the antique clock from the hallway, jewelry her grandmother had passed down. Each item hurt to let go, but not as much as losing the house would. A local charity hosted a fundraiser in her honor. Strangers came. Some shared hugs, others shared grief. One woman slipped Emma a check for $1,000. Because no one should lose their past to someone else's mistake, she said. Rachel started attending therapy. Every session made her quieter, more reflective. She stopped blaming. She started apologizing. Emma noticed her daughter showing up early to appointments, reading parenting books. She watched her bond with baby Mark. Slowly, gently. There were still cracks, but there was effort. The baby's nursery was modest, but filled with love. Emma painted the walls soft blue and stitched the curtains herself. Mark Jr. smiled more now, laughed when the wind chimes jingled. Emma received a call from the bank's asset recovery division. There might be a loophole, the voice said. If you can prove Kyle used deception and that Rachel was coerced, we might reverse the deed leverage. Coerced how? Was she emotionally manipulated, threatened, used as a proxy to access your assets? Emma blinked. Yes, all of the above. They gave her a list of steps, one name at the top, Kyle Freeman. Her lawyer nodded. If we find him, and if he talks, you could get everything back. Emma looked at her grandson asleep on her shoulder. Then we'll find him. The bank officer reveals a loophole. If Kyle is caught, Emma can reclaim assets. The private investigator Emma hired returned with a thin file. He's in Nevada, under a fake name. Small-time poker rooms, cash hotels. He's running low. Emma didn't hesitate. She packed her things, kissed her grandson, and told Rachel, "We're not finished yet." She arrived in Reno with the sense of steel she hadn't felt in years. The investigator set up a meeting. Kyle thought he was selling insider tips to a real estate investor. Emma waited in a low-lit cafe, hands folded calmly. When Kyle walked in, all swagger and sunglasses, he paused mid-step. "You?" he said. She smiled tightly. "Sit." He did, eyes darting. "I didn't do anything illegal. You used my daughter, stole from a dying man, used my house to pay off thugs. I didn't force her. No, you seduced her, sold her dreams." He stood to leave, but two plainclothes officers approached. "Mr. Freeman," one said, "you're under arrest for financial fraud, identity theft, and unlawful use of power of attorney." Kyle paled. "You set me up." Emma stood. "No, you set yourself up. I'm just the final page of your story." Rachel watched the footage in stunned silence later that night, a video of Kyle's arrest Emma had taken discreetly on her phone. "He lied about everything," Rachel whispered. "He told me I was smart, that I deserved better, that you didn't love me." Emma took her hand. "I always loved you, even when I didn't understand you." Kyle is arrested, and Rachel watches the footage in silent horror. Back home, Emma sat with a stack of blank stationery. For the first time in years, she wrote, not emails, not legal replies, but letters. To Rachel. "I forgive you, not because you asked, but because I need peace." To Mark Jr. "You are your grandfather's echo. Gentle, strong, a quiet promise." To herself. "You survived what should have broken you." Rachel, now attending group therapy and parenting classes, began writing too. One night, she handed Emma a thick envelope. "I wrote everything, my side, my regrets, the truth about Kyle, about how I tried to become someone I wasn't, just to feel worthy." Emma read it in the garden. Every word hurt, but every page healed. One morning, as the light broke through the kitchen window, Emma received a small envelope, no return address. Inside, a folded letter in Mark's handwriting. Her breath caught. It read, "If she ever strays, forgive her. I saw something in Rachel you haven't yet. She's more like you than you know, and if you're reading this, it means you fought for this family the way I always knew you would." Emma pressed the letter to her heart. For the first time, it didn't hurt to miss him. It felt like he was still guiding her. That evening, she walked to the mailbox, placed all her letters inside, and raised the flag. She'd been silent too long. A letter arrives for Emma, from Mark, written before he died. Mark's letter reveals he always suspected Rachel was headed down this path, and asks Emma to forgive her. The house was quiet. Morning light spilled over the freshly painted walls, catching on the edge of a baby mobile that spun lazily in the breeze. Mark Jr. giggled from his crib. Emma, now stronger, more grounded, lifted him with ease. Rachel stood by the window, folding baby clothes. Her edges were softer now, her voice gentler. "Do you remember how Dad used to hum when he worked in the garden?" Rachel asked. Emma nodded. "That hum built this house more than any hammer." The lawsuit was officially over. Kyle was in custody. The bank dropped its claim. Emma's home, her legacy, was legally hers once again. Rachel had signed documents giving temporary guardianship of Mark Jr. to Emma, a sign of trust, and a promise to earn back what she had broken. They lived together now. Not as mother and daughter clinging to old wounds, but as two women learning each other anew. There were still silences, still moments when pain peeked through the drywall. But there was laughter too. Shared meals, baby babble. One afternoon, Emma sat on the porch with a cup of tea. She watched Mark Jr. in a blanket on the grass, Rachel dozing beside him. The wind chimes, new ones, sang softly. She picked up a pen and added to her journal. Forgiveness is not a finish line, it's a garden, watered daily with hope and patience. As if on cue, the doorbell rang. Emma opened it to find a young couple holding a letter. "You don't know us," the woman said. "But your story, it saved our family. We were going to give up. We didn't." Emma smiled, tears threatening. "Come in. There's always room for one more story here." Emma stands by the window, holding her grandson, and the doorbell rings.